I always believed that burnout was a myth for the weak. That was until I became its poster child. My name is Elena Thorne, and for 15 years, Thorne Innovations was my entire world. I built it from a laptop in a cramped dorm room into a tech empire that reshaped the skyline. I was the CEO, the founder, the visionary. And I was, quite frankly, exhausted. The fire that once drove me had dwindled to a cold ember. The 20-hour days, the endless board meetings, they had hollowed me out. I no longer recognized the woman in the mirror, and worse, I no longer recognized the company I had built. There were whispers, inefficiencies, toxic managers, a dip in morale, problems I couldn't see from my glass-walled office on the 50th floor. I felt disconnected. And my husband, Mark, saw it too. Mark was my COO. We met in the early days, back when the company was just 5 of us in a rented garage. He was charming, brilliant with numbers, and he became my rock. Or so I believed. "Elena, darling," he said one evening, massaging my shoulders as I stared blankly at a spreadsheet. "You're killing yourself. Look at you. You need a break, a real one." "I can't, Mark," I sighed. "The new platform launches—" "Is being handled," he interrupted, his voice smooth as silk. "I'm handling it. The team is handling it. We need you to be healthy. Take a sabbatical. 6 months. Travel. Sleep. Just stop. Please. For me." His concern felt like a warm blanket. It was exactly what I wanted to hear. But 6 months? I couldn't just disappear. "No," I decided, a new idea sparking. "Not a sabbatical, but a change. I need to know what's really happening on the ground floor. I need to see the company through a new pair of eyes." Mark laughed. "What, like undercover boss?" "Exactly. Not as the CEO, but as someone invisible, a trainee, a new hire. I need to find the rot, Mark. I feel like my own house is crumbling and I don't know why." He paused. For a split second, I saw something flicker in his eyes. Annoyance? But it was gone in an instant, replaced by that supportive smile. "Elena, that's eccentric, but brilliant, of course. It's your company. Just be careful. The ground floor can be rough." "I can handle rough," I said. "I built this place, remember?" And so the plan was set. Only one other person knew it. Sarah, my head of HR, a woman fiercely loyal to me since day one. She created a new identity for me. Anna Reed, a 30-something career changer entering the tech world from a failed small business. New glasses, a simple wardrobe from a department store, and my hair tied back in a severe bun. I was unrecognizable. I was Anna. My first day as Anna was humbling. I was assigned to the client integration department, the very heart of the company. And I was assigned to the same onboarding group as a handful of new interns, fresh-faced and buzzing with energy. And then I met Chloe. She arrived 30 minutes late, not with a frantic apology, but with a Starbucks cup in one hand and her phone pressed to her ear. She was talking loudly, all designer labels and entitlement. "No, I told him the black one. Ugh, just handle it. I'm at the stupid office now." She snapped into her phone before hanging up and flicking her immaculate blonde hair. The training coordinator, a nervous man named Tim, cleared his throat. "Ms. Evans, welcome. We've already started the—" "It's Chloe." she said, not as a friendly invitation, but as a correction. She didn't look at Tim. She was scanning the room, her nose wrinkled, as if she smelled something bad. Her eyes landed on me, lingered for a second with open disdain, and then dismissed me. Right, Chloe. If you could just take a seat, the only one left is next to Anna. Chloe sighed dramatically and sauntered over, dropping her designer bag onto the desk with a heavy thud. She didn't say hello. She just started texting. This, I thought, was exactly the kind of rot I was here to find. I had no idea that this arrogant intern wasn't just a problem. She was my problem. Life as Anna was a special kind of hell, and Chloe was the resident demon. She operated with an impunity that was staggering. She ignored deadlines, spoke condescendingly to everyone, including our manager, and seemed to have a direct line to somewhere high up. "You must have connections," I heard another intern whisper to her at lunch. Chloe just smiled, a cold, smug little smile. "You have no idea. Some of us are here to work, and some of us are here to oversee. My time here is just a formality." Her favorite target, however, was me, Anna, the quiet, dowdy, older trainee. The first major incident was the coffee. We were all scrambling to prepare for a team presentation. I had been working on a critical data analysis, the very data I knew was flawed at the entry point, the whole reason I was down here. I had my printouts, 20 pages of them, meticulously organized on my desk. Chloe rushed past, on her phone again. "Move," she snapped, not even looking. She gestured wildly as she spoke, and her hand holding a large steaming latte connected with the cup on my desk. It wasn't a gentle tap, it was a violent shove. Scalding hot coffee erupted over the entire desk, saturating every single page of my report. My hands, which I had pulled back just in time, were splattered with hot drops. "Oh my God!" I yelped, more from shock than pain. Chloe finally looked down. Her eyes widened, not in apology, but in annoyance. "Seriously?" she huffed, looking at the mess. "Look what you made me do. This is a $300 blouse. It's ruined." She glared at me, as if I had somehow willed the coffee to jump. Our manager, Tim, rushed over. "What happened? Anna, are you okay?" Before I could speak, Chloe burst into dramatic tears. She just put her cup right in my way. I was walking and she just shoved it. And now my blouse and her report, it's all ruined." I was speechless. The lie was so blatant, so audacious that my brain couldn't process it. "Anna?" Tim asked, his eyes pleading for a simple explanation. "That's not what happened," I said, my voice quiet. "You knocked it over, Chloe. You were on your phone." Chloe's tears vanished, replaced by a venomous glare. "Are you calling me a liar? You?" She scoffed, looking me up and down. "Look, Anna, maybe in whatever depressing little town you came from, you could get away with being clumsy and incompetent. But this is the big leagues. You can't just sabotage other people because you're failing." "Sabotage you?" I was stunned. "Yes! I'm an intern. You're trying to make me look bad. Tim," she said, turning on the waterworks again, "I'm creating such a hostile work environment. I feel unsafe." Tim, clearly terrified of this 20-year-old intern, just wilted. Anna, just clean this up and reprint your report. We'll have to push the presentation. I spent the next hour mopping up coffee, my hands shaking with the rage I hadn't felt in years. This was the culture that was festering in my company? At home that night, I was exhausted. The physical labor was nothing, but the emotional drain was immense. Mark was late, as usual. He came in around 10 p.m. smelling faintly of a perfume that wasn't mine, a heavy, sweet gardenia. "Long day, honey?" I asked from the couch, nursing a glass of wine. "Unbelievable," he sighed, kissing the top of my head. "The launch is a mess. The new interns are a lot." "Oh?" I sat up. "Anyone in particular?" "Just, entitled kids. There's this one, Chloe Evans, complete nightmare. But apparently her father is a massive potential client. We have to treat her with kid gloves. So if you hear any rumors, just ignore them. It's business." The lie was so smooth, so practiced. He was setting up an alibi before I even asked. The gardenia perfume, Chloe's smug, "you have no idea" smile. My blood ran cold. No, it couldn't be. But the seed was planted. The next 2 weeks were a master class in psychological warfare. Chloe escalated. She knew I was a threat, not because she knew who I was, but because I was competent. And in her world, competence in others was an insult to her. She began to actively sabotage my work. We were tasked with creating a joint pitch for a new client integration process. We're supposed to work together. I, as Anna, did almost all of the research, building the presentation deck from scratch. I stayed late every night perfecting it. It was, frankly, brilliant. A new workflow I had been designing in my head for months. "Just email me the file, Anna," Chloe said, painting her nails at her desk. "I'll, add the finishing touches." Against my better judgment, I sent it. The next morning, we were in the conference room. Tim, the department head, and even a VP were there. "All right, Anna, Chloe, let's see what you got," Tim said. Chloe smiled sweetly and plugged in her laptop. "I'm so excited to present this. I really pulled a few all-nighters on it." She opened the file. It was my work, my slides, my data. But it was wrong. The numbers were all skewed. The flow was broken. Key slides were missing. "Go ahead, Chloe," said the VP. Chloe clicked to the first slide and began to speak, reading my executive summary. But the data on the slide didn't match what she was saying. It was a disaster. "Wait," said the VP, frowning. "This doesn't make any sense. The projected ROI is negative 15%. Why would we propose this?" Chloe's face went white. She fumbled. "No, that's not. Anna, what did you do?" All eyes turned to me. "What did I do?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. "This is your data," she shrieked. "You must have sent me the wrong file. You did this on purpose. You're trying to make me fail." "Chloe," I said, standing up, "the file I sent you last night was perfect. I have the sent email on my phone. This is sabotage. But you didn't just sabotage me. You sabotaged yourself." "How dare you?" "Enough," the VP barked. "This is a circus. Tim, get your department in order. This is embarrassing. Anna, Chloe, you're both on thin ice. Fix it." He stormed out. Chloe was shaking, not with fear, but with rage. She followed me back to my desk. "You're done," she whispered, her voice a low hiss. "You think you're smart, don't you, you pathetic old hag? You have no idea who I am. By the end of this week, you won't even have a job. I'm going to have you fired." "On what grounds?" I asked, looking her dead in the eye. "On the grounds that I said so." That night, I told Mark I was thinking of quitting the Anna experiment. "It's just so toxic," I said, testing him. "There's this intern, Chloe." Mark stiffened. "Her? Again? Honey, I told you. Her father. Just stay away from her. Don't let her get to you. In fact, you're right. Maybe you should quit. This Anna thing, it's beneath you. Why don't you just stay home? Let me handle the company. I've got it." "Let me handle the company." The words echoed in my head. He wasn't protecting me. He was handling me. He wanted me out of the way. He wanted me to be the blissfully ignorant CEO, safe in her ivory tower, while he and Chloe did God knows what. "No," I said, a cold resolve settling in my stomach. "You're right. I'm not a quitter. I'll just have to learn to handle her." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Whatever you say, darling." The game was on. I was no longer Anna, the timid trainee. I was Elena Thorne, the CEO, disguised in cheap polyester. And I was on a warpath. My first call was to Sarah, my head of HR. "Sarah," I said from a locked bathroom stall, "I need you to do something for me. Off the books. Top secret." "Boss?" she whispered. "Are you okay? You sound different." "I'm awake, Sarah. I need you to pull the visitor logs, the expense reports, and the corporate credit card statements for Mark for the last 6 months. And I need an external auditor, someone who doesn't work here. Have them scrub the books for discretionary spending. I also need the complete file on an intern named Chloe Evans. I want to know who hired her, why, and what her father's name is." There was a heavy silence. "Oh God, Elena. Is it? Just get it for me, Sarah. And tell no one, especially not Mark." The next day, I went back to the office as Anna, but with a new purpose. I was an investigator. I watched, I listened. Chloe was more arrogant than ever, convinced she had me on the ropes. She paraded around the office, taking long lunches and making loud personal calls. "No, Daddy," I heard her coo, sitting at her desk. He's perfect. He's going to give me everything. Yeah, a new department, director of something. Doesn't matter. The point is that old hag wife of his will be out soon, and I'll be in. Yes, Mark, he's the best." I had to physically grip my desk to keep from strangling her. Daddy? She was calling my husband Daddy? And then the other shoe dropped. Sarah sent me a text. "Check your private email, now." I rushed to the break room. The file she sent was devastating. Chloe Evans, hired with no interview. Resume was a joke. Signed off personally by Mark. Father's name? John Evans, a retired plumber from Ohio. Not a potential client, not a tech mogul, a nobody. The expense reports were a novel of betrayal. Thousands of dollars, client dinners at restaurants for two, team building at luxury spas, office supplies from Gucci and Cartier, and then the auditor's report. Mark had been systematically siphoning money, my money, into a shell corporation. The name of the corporation? C&M Enterprises. Chloe and Mark. He wasn't just cheating. He was stealing. He was building a new life for himself, funded by my life's work. But the worst was the apartment. A new lease, signed 3 months ago, for a penthouse downtown. Paid for 3 years in advance from a discretionary fund I didn't even know Mark had created. He wasn't just planning to leave me. He was planning to ruin me. He was setting Chloe up in a position of power, and, I realized with dawning horror, they were probably planning to oust me from my own board. My burnout, my sabbatical, it was all his idea. He was pushing me out so he and his mistress could take over. Just as I was processing this, my phone buzzed. An email from Tim, my manager. Subject: urgent. Your employment status. Anna, a serious allegation has been made against you. It has been reported by a colleague that you have attempted to access and download sensitive client data, a severe breach of company policy and NBA. You are to report to the 30th floor conference room immediately. Please bring your laptop and all personal belongings. Your building access has been suspended pending this investigation. I looked up. Chloe was standing across the office, smirking at me. She picked up her phone, typed a text, and then blew a tiny triumphant kiss in my direction. This was it, her final move. She wasn't just trying to get me fired, she was trying to have me arrested. Falsifying a report of a data breach could lead to lawsuits. She was trying to destroy Anna so completely that I could never be a threat. I closed my laptop. I gathered my cheap handbag. Okay, I whispered to myself, a cold, hard smile spreading across my face. You want to fire me, Chloe? Let's go get me fired. I walked to the elevator, my heart beating a slow, steady drum. This was it, the 30th floor, the executive conference room, my execution. As I stepped out, I saw Sarah, my HR head, standing by the door. She looked pale, but when she saw me, she gave me a tiny, imperceptible nod. She was in on it. I walked in. It was a full house. The entire executive team. The VP who had yelled at us, my manager Tim, looking like he was about to be sick. And at the head of the long mahogany cable, looking every bit the powerful COO, sat Mark. Beside him, in a chair usually reserved for a top executive, sat Chloe. She was glowing, dressed in a sharp red power suit. She looked like she owned the place. Anna Reed, Mark said, his voice dripping with false formality and disappointment. We are here to discuss a very grave matter. I understand, I said, keeping my voice meek. I don't know what this is about. Oh, I think you do, Chloe chirped, unable to help herself. Mark, darling, I mean Mr. Thorne, perhaps I should explain, since I'm the one who discovered the breach. Mark nodded, a paternal, proud look on his face. Please, Chloe, enlighten us. Chloe stood up,
She reveled in the moment, pacing the room as if she were giving a TED Talk. "It has come to my attention," she began, "that Anna here is not who she says she is. She's been deceptive, incompetent, and, as it turns out, a corporate spy." Gasps filled the room. Tim looked like he might faint. "I have evidence," Chloe continued, "that Anna used her workstation to access the primary client database, the Red List. She then attempted to download this list, our most valuable asset, to an external drive. She was probably planning to sell it to a competitor." She clicked a remote on the massive screen at the end of HDQT. An email appeared. It was from IT Security. "Flag. Unauthorized access attempt by user A.Read. Termination recommended." "I caught it just in time," Chloe said, placing a hand on her heart. "I alerted IT, and I alerted Mr. Thorne. I I just want to protect this company, the company that, well, the company I love."
She looked at Mark with such adoration. He beamed back at her. "Thank you, Chloe," Mark said, his voice grave. "Your loyalty has not gone unnoticed. Anna, this is unforgivable. A data breach of this magnitude, this isn't just termination. This is a legal matter. Do you have anything to say for yourself?" All eyes were on me, the old hag, the incompetent trainee, the corporate spy. I stood there for a long moment. I looked at Tim, who was pale. I looked at the VP, who was red-faced with anger. I looked at Mark, my husband, the father of my... God, thank God we never had children. And then I looked at Chloe. "Yes," I said, my voice clear and strong, cutting through the silence. "I do have something to say." I walked to the front of the room. I set my cheap bag on the table. "First," I said, "that email from IT Security, it's a fake. I know because the IP address it was sent from traces back to the penthouse apartment you've been living in for 3 months. The one I gestured to Mark, it's paying for with stolen company funds." The color drained from Chloe's face. Mark's smile froze. What are you talking about?" Chloe stammered. "I'm talking about C&M Enterprises, a shell corporation. I'm talking about $1.2 million in embezzled funds. I'm talking about Gucci, Cartier, and a brand new Maserati, all bought on my company's dime." I clicked a remote. My remote. The one Sarah had slipped me. Chloe's evidence vanished. It was replaced by Mark's expense reports, the dinners, the spas, the jewelry. "Second, let's talk about sabotage." I clicked again. The screen now showed security footage, crystal clear 4K footage. Click. Chloe accidentally spilling the coffee all over my desk. Click. Chloe at her workstation, late at night, accessing my presentation file. The screen showed her, clear as day, deleting key slides and changing numbers. Click. Chloe in the break room, on the phone, cackling about how she was going to get the old hag fired. The room was utterly silent. You could hear a pin drop. "You," Mark started, standing up, his face a mask of fury and panic. "Who the hell do you think you are?" I finally turned to look at him. My husband of 10 years. The man I built my life with. "Who am I?" I asked. I reached up.
I pulled the band from my hair, letting it fall to my shoulders. I took off the cheap, non-prescription lasses. I unbuttoned the top 2 buttons of my drab polyester blouse. And I looked at the executive team. My team. "She's Elena Thorne," the VP whispered, his eyes wide with dawning horror and recognition. I... I... Chloe was hyperventilating, backing away. This is a trick." "It's not a trick, Chloe," I said, stepping towards her. "You wanted to fire Anna. You succeeded. Anna was gone. Anna was a fiction." I turned back to the room. "But you," I said, my voice dropping, "you were trying to fire me. Elena Thorne, the CEO, the founder, the woman who signs your paychecks." I looked at Mark. The betrayal was a physical wound, but the rage was a fire, and it was finally burning bright. "And you," I said to him, "you weren't just trying to fire me. You were trying to replace me, to rob me. You thought I was burned out, weak. You thought you could push me aside and hand my life's work to her." I snapped my fingers. The main doors of the conference room burst open. 2 police officers and our head of corporate security walked in. "Mark Thorne," I announced, "you are fired. You are being sued for embezzlement, fraud, and breach of fiduciary duty. Officers, please escort him out." "Elena, no, you can't," he screamed, lunging for me. Security grabbed him. "It was a mistake. I love you. She meant nothing." "Save it," I said, not even looking at him as they dragged him, kicking and swearing from the room. Then I turned my full attention to the last remaining problem, Chloe. She had collapsed into a chair, all the color and arrogance gone. She was just a small, pathetic girl. "And you, Miss Evans, you were right about one thing. You're not an intern. You're a con artist, and you're trespassing." I looked at my head of security. "Security," I said, my voice ice cold. "Please escort Miss Evans and my husband out of my building and make sure neither of them ever sets foot in it again." As Chloe was half carried, half dragged from the room, still sobbing about her red suit, I turned to face my executive team. They were shell-shocked. I took a deep breath. "My apologies for the theatricality," I said. "But as you can see, we had a rot, a deep one. It started at the top, and it has been excised." I looked at Tim, my terrified manager. "Tim," I said, my voice softening, "you're a good manager, but you're a terrible judge of character and you have no backbone. We're moving you to data analysis. You'll be happier there. No more Chloes to deal with." He almost fainted with relief. I then addressed the room. Thorne Innovations is my company, my life. I let it slip. I let him convince me I was weak, that I was burned out. I wasn't burned out. I was being poisoned. I walked to the head of the table, my chair, and sat down. "Effective immediately," I said. "I am back. We're conducting a full audit of every department. The culture of fear and enabling ends today. Now, let's get to work."
That night, I went home to an empty penthouse. The closets were already cleared of his suits. The lingering scent of gardenia was gone. I poured a glass of wine, not the cheap one Anna drank, but my best 1998 Bordeaux. I walked out onto my balcony and looked out over the city skyline, a skyline I helped build. Mark's betrayal cut deep. But in a strange, twisted way, Chloe did me a favor. She was the catalyst. She woke me from the slumber my husband had so carefully curated. He thought by pushing me down to the bottom, I would break. He forgot. The bottom is where I started. It's where I thrive.